BBHers, I'm Krista Evans, and I am a birth photographer, a doula, and a business mentor based out of Kelowna, British Columbia, Canada. And today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about IPS, which is a business model that I practice for not only birth, but for all of my portrait sessions as well. So I wanted to start by just introducing myself, what I do, and how IPS has really changed my life and my business. I've been a birth photographer for around 6.5 years now, and initially I started off with what most of you all are doing, the shoot and burn method. So I was showing up to a client's birth, having probably only talked to them 1 or 2 times before, maybe met with them in person. I would shoot their birth and then I would send off their gallery once I'd edited it. And most of the time I wouldn't even hear back to see how the clients really felt about their images. And after a few years of really grinding and working hard to get clients, but really not feeling that emotional return, I decided that I needed to make a shift. And for me, it was not only spurred by the need to make sure that I was feeling more emotionally fulfilled by having a deeper client connection, but also I needed to create some sort of sustainability in my birth practice. I was finding that I was working so hard, booking so many first-time mamas, and the births were long and arduous, and then the editing process was long. And I really, at the end of the day, was grinding and I didn't see a return. I didn't feel like I was watching my bank account go up. I was feeling depleted. And so once I realized what was truly important to me, what my ethos in my business and brand was, which is personal connection with my clients, and also creating a business and a brand that serves not only my clients, but me and my family as well, I started to research IPS. I started to look at how I could do things differently, how I could create a business and brand that was both fulfilling to me and providing my clients something extra, something that nobody else was doing in the area. So as soon as I kind of understood what IPS was about, I jumped in with both feet, and I really kind of made a million mistakes along the way, but figured out quite quickly that this was the key for me. It was the key to really allowing myself to enjoy not just the active shooting aspect of birth and all of the amazing, benefits we get from that, but also becoming this beautiful entity that I was proud of, this business that allowed me to connect on such a deep level with the people whose stories I was so excited to tell. So today I want to talk about how that shift really affected me and how it could affect you, how it could really transform and up-level your birth business to something that is not only passion-driven, even way more than it was before, but it's sustainable, it's lucrative, it's serving, like I said, not just your clients, but you and your family. So when I made the transition to IPS, it was hard. I didn't know what I was doing. I was kind of winging it. I was figuring out as I went along what was working and what didn't work at all. And so me now stepping into this business mentor role and helping so many of you guide your business to a different level feels wonderful to me. I love seeing you guys not make the same mistakes that I made because I can help alleviate that transition. For me, when I started IPS, one of the biggest mistakes I made is I was sitting in a place of fear. I was sitting in a place of scarcity. I was worried that I would never find my ideal client, that I wasn't going to be able to find a client who would value me enough, value what I was doing enough to pay the amount of money that I was wanting. Not even wanting, needing to make this business sustainable. Once I started digging in and looking at why I was so afraid of that, I realized it was just coming from a place of competition. I was looking at my community and seeing the different photographers that were offering what I was offering, but for such a low price point. And I thought, you know what? I need to just do something different. I need to offer something that clients are going to see value in, that they're going to get excited about, and really feel at the end of the day that they are happy to pay the fees that I'm asking for because they are getting so much more than what they are putting out monetarily. Once I sat in that place for a while, I started to think about who my ideal client was. Who did I want to build my practice around? You know, for the longest time, I would just take anyone. I would take clients that didn't sit right with me. Their ethos didn't align with mine. And I would go to these births and I would feel disconnected. I would feel that although the birth was beautiful, my client's vision didn't align with what mine was, or they were expecting me to shoot a certain way or deliver a certain set of images that was outside of what my own artistic eye was seeing. And when I switched to IPS, it really gave me an opportunity to look at who I wanted to bring into my practice, who I wanted to envelop with my own magic. And once I figured that out, it became very clear to me who my ideal client was. And truthfully, that is so important. When you look at building your IPS practice, shifting away from shoot and burn, you need to realize who your client is, because that sets the tone for everything. I realized very quickly that my clients were earthy, they were grounded, they were sitting in a place where they understood the value of birth photography, they understood the value of the storytelling. I knew where my client ended up living. I would sit there and I would look at maps of my city and I would imagine my ideal client. I actually created an avatar of her, and down to where she shopped, where she bought her groceries from, what kind of car she drove, what school her kids went to. Once I understood that, I then really quickly found her. I started seeing her out and about in my town, and then I started interacting with her. I would walk up to her and I would introduce myself and tell her what I was doing, you know, explaining what I offer, why I'm different from everybody else. Sometimes that translated into a first meeting because she maybe was looking for a photographer. The cool thing about finding your ideal client with IPS is your ideal client typically associates with more of your ideal client. So once you found her or him or they, you know, you really do have an opportunity to have that snowball into a new kind of client coming into your door, a client who gets what you're offering and who really genuinely wants it. In fact, they need it. You're not even a want, you're a need. So when you transition your practice to IPS, I want you to keep that in mind. Even if you're just considering that, think about the clients that you currently have. Think about the ones that maybe are amazing, but then think about the ones that don't necessarily land. They don't land with your vision. And think about how if you completely shifted your business to serve you, which then serves them, the type of clients you would attract. Does that sound good? Does that sound like it lands? I want you to think about that. So back to the difference between IPS and shoot and burn. Like I mentioned before, shoot and burn is very much, here's your images, I hope you call me in the future when you need services again. IPS is a journey. It's a beautiful, beautiful journey, an adventure with your client from the very first point of interaction all the way through to when you deliver their images. Let's say I get an email from a client wanting birth photography. I don't respond to that email giving them everything right out of the gate. I basically get to know the client. I tell them what I do and I set up a time for an in-person meeting, or at the very least a phone call. That's such an important step with in-person sales. It's foundational. It's setting you up for success. It's figuring out if that client is somebody who's interested in what you specifically offer. You have an opportunity to connect, have small talk, find out if their birth aligns with your core values. And really it allows this potential client to kind of see what you offer specifically. So basically I would take that initial email and then I would translate that into either a phone call or an in-person consultation, ideally an in-person consultation. The thing to remember with IPS is it's not about the money. It's not about the dollar figure, which is why we typically want to avoid translating what our investment is until you are sitting with the client in person or the potential client. What I normally do with emails is I set up a time to meet in person or have a phone call. If it's a phone call, I'm happy to give an investment range over that phone call. And in my course with BBH, I really dig into the process of IPS, and I know we have to keep it relatively short, but it is a process. There are specific tips and tricks that allow you to build that combination of personal client connection and also allowing them to see inside of your business and see the true value of what you're offering. So back to the process. We would meet in person or on the phone. I would give, if it's on the phone, an investment range. After I've really learned about this person, got to know them, talked about their likes or dislikes, found out where they're delivering, talked about myself, my family, built that connection on a foundational level. Then we get into talking about the numbers. If it's on the phone, I give a range of investment. Then I set up a time if the client feels interested to meet in person. And that is a pivotal step in IPS. It's that one-on-one connection where you are able to bring your beautiful products and show the client. You're able to connect with them on such a level where they can't imagine birthing without you there. Also, it gives you a chance to really figure out if this is somebody you want to work with. Gone are the days for me where I said yes to everybody. I say more no's than I say yeses because I get to choose now who I want to spend my time with. And that has changed everything. It's truly changed everything for me. So let's say you get this person to come and meet you, and you sit at a coffee shop or you have them to your studio if you have a studio, and you really get to know them. You highlight how you are different. You're showing them your products, and then you're explaining to them why you. I promise you at the end of that, if they've made the dedicated effort to come and meet you in person, you're getting hired. And that's what's beautiful about IPS. You've now had probably 2 opportunities, both on the phone and in person, to get to know each other, to build a friendship. And so by the time you show up to their birth or their portrait session, you guys know each other, you're comfortable, you're walking into that birth room with confidence. And as a photographer, that's hard because those of us that are doula togs understand you build that connection through deep conversation and through education. But as birth photographers, often we don't get that chance to show up for the clients in that way. So having in-person sales as your philosophy really does allow you, even if you are showing up only as their photographer, to build a deep friendship, which only then helps you further on down the process. You show up to their birth, and like I said, you guys know each other. You banter, you really understand what your client needs. You've talked about what they can see getting out of this process, what they envision in their home as far as products. Through further conversations and digging in and understanding, like I said, what they want out of this. At the birth, what I typically try to do is even bring them full circle around and get them excited about their images. Not just showing them images on back of the camera, but saying, you know what, this is such an epic moment. How amazing would this look on your wall? So with in-person sales, we're using every opportunity to create a vision for the client in a non-salesy way. And I know that that's a fear for probably most of you who are even thinking about making this transition. I don't want to appear like a slimy salesman. And the way that you focus your IPS practice in building personal connection alleviates that stress, because by the time you meet with your client and show them these images, this art you've created, they already understand your process. They get it. They get you. They love you. They want your magic. They want what you create. So you don't actually even have to sell. Your art sells itself and your client leads. So back to the active shooting aspect, whether it's a birth or a portrait session, I typically try to really bring it home to a client and wrap their brain around the vision of the end result, what it's going to look like, and even more important, what it's going to feel like to have these images, these epic moments of the most important days of their life on their walls or in a beautiful album. And surprisingly, they really resonate with that, whether it's at a portrait session or in a birth. People love to go one step further in their brain and imagine it. Let's transition through the birth and let's talk about the sales meeting. So typically for me, I meet with my clients for birth between 3 to 4 weeks after I've shot the birth. They come to my studio here and I present them via a digital slideshow all of their images. And in that slideshow, I set it to music. Typically, you know, it's between 10 to 15 minutes long. And I sit with them and I selfishly get to enjoy their reaction. Can you imagine what that would feel like to be able to see your client who you formed such a deep relationship with, who you've witnessed the biggest moment of their life? Can you imagine watching them see that for the first time? It's palpable. It's literally palpable. You get to feel it. You get to see them cry and you get to see them embrace and laugh, and you get to feel alongside them everything they're feeling. It's such a reward. It's such a beautiful reward. So when they're in my studio and I show them their gallery, at the very end of that is when I ask them how it made them feel. You know, I ask them, what did you feel? What images really resonated with you? And then after they really, you know, highlighted to me how important it is to them, and like I said, there's always tears. It's really, really cool to see. I bring it back to the product. And I say, you know, I know we had met before and I've told you about the specific heirloom quality products that I offer. Did you guys have a chance to talk about that at all in the space of how you'd want it in your home? And most of the time they had, and sometimes they hadn't. But basically at that point, the sales meeting begins. And it turns into a really amazing and energetic combination of their vision and mine. And together we create something that works for them, whether that's ordering product off of my a la carte menu or by me creating a custom collection for them. It really is guided by them. It's not my job to tell my clients how to spend their money. It's my job to create solutions for them, to provide them with the dream. And that's what I do. My clients come into me with a problem. They say, I want birth photography, but I don't know how I want to display it. I find them the solution. We can do a beautiful heirloom album, custom. You can help me design it or I can design it for you. Here are 100 different fabric swatches for you to decide. Would you like it embossed? Would you like to write a beautiful love letter to your baby? We can put that in there. Would you like amazing ready to hang wall art? Because guess what, guys, birth can be art. You can show a client that they can unabashedly showcase their birth in their home for everyone to see, and I guarantee you they will love that. I sell more large-scale pieces of wall art than I do albums even. And then finally, digitals. I know that's a frequently asked question about the shift from shoot and burn for birth specifically to IPS. Oh my gosh, I cannot get rid of images. How am I going to be okay as an artist losing those images for the client? Guess what, guys? It's not our job. Our clients are going to decide what is most memorable for them. And some choose art and some will choose full digitals. The way you run your IPS business is up to you. I do offer digitals. I would say 90% of my birth clients buy the digital images. I don't break down images per image or do smaller galleries. If they want the full gallery, they buy all of it. And with IPS, it has to, I'm going to shout it from the rooftops, be your most expensive item on your a la carte. It has to be. That's where the value lies. So in my IPS course with BBH, I really kind of highlight how you figure out what to price yourself at. And I know that's the biggest question. How do I know what to price myself at? Number one, cost of doing business. We can't, as business owners, as business people, run a successful, passion-driven, and sustainable business if we do not know our numbers. We have to know our numbers. So I teach you how to know your numbers. You go through and you figure out what every single cost associated with your business is, and then we break it down to figure out what you need to charge in order to become profitable. Okay, so in the course we definitely talk about the margins, how to set goals, but to give you an idea, you know, for me personally, I knew what I wanted to make per birth. I knew what I wanted to sell in every single sales meeting. So I set goals for myself. I knew that I wanted to, at the end of the day, sit between the range of $5,000 to $10,000 per birth. And that was my goal from the very, very beginning. And I had to do the dance a little bit. I had to find the sweet spot. And finally I did. So I would set a session fee that I knew would take care of all of my hard costs, childcare, camera equipment, all of the things, on-call services, you know, backup, all of those things that are pivotal that we have written into our expenses, I've taken care of in my session fee. And then everything else as far as products is additional. So that I know that even in a session, a sales meeting that a client leads, most of the time they leave with the digitals and then some, but like I mentioned, it's really up to them. I've had clients that have come in and just bought one piece of art, and that's beautiful too. That's their journey. So really you set your prices knowing what your goals are, and then it really breaks it down further. How many sessions do I need to book in a month in order to achieve my goals? So that's getting really, really deep on it, but as far as price setting, there's a formula that needs to be done in order for you to come up with not only your session fee with IPS, but also what to price each individual product at. Okay, so reveals. We've talked a little bit about reveals and you know, the functionality of them. At the very end of that reveal, you want your client leaving with product or digitals, whatever speaks to them personally. So with IPS, the beauty is you've created this amazing experience from the very first point of contact through to the sales meeting. You've done things that have wowed your client from the beginning. You've shown up to a birth, really going the extra mile, doing things that are specific to your brand, whether that's bringing a branded gift for mom in the birth room, or showing up at her house after delivery with something beautiful and tasty that lets her know that you're thinking about her. It's going the extra mile, and your clients will feel it, and therefore that translates to not only happy clients, but big time referrals. Most of my new business, I would say 99% of it comes from referrals from my clients who can never imagine going elsewhere because they know they won't get it the same anywhere else. I've provided them something unique, something different. So keep that in mind when you think about transitioning to IPS. The other frequently asked question that I get about IPS is what happens afterwards? So for me, after my clients have their ordering visit, I always deliver their products in person. If they have purchased wall art, I will send somebody to hang their art for them professionally. They have to do nothing. I show up with champagne and goodies and the professional installer, and we set it down. And that is something that's really unique and really meaningful to them. So if you are thinking about transitioning, wrap your brain around how you can encourage something different and unique and really something that's a wow to your clients. Think about that, and I guarantee you'll be able to come up with some really exciting ideas that are so individual to you and your own business and brand. Okay. How do we know if IPS will work for birth? It is such a big transition. You know, how am I gonna find clients? We talked about that. It's about finding your ideal client and then letting that snowball. We talked a little bit about pricing, but how do I know if it's gonna work for birth? Let me tell you, out of every other genre of photography, birth is best suited for IPS because it is such an epic occasion. Your clients are going in with the expectation that they will love every image. They're going in with the knowledge of what you create and provide because you've spent so much time with them explaining it. You've talked to them about your products. They're excited about that. With birth and IPS, it is perfectly suited because your relationship with your clients continue after they've delivered. It's not uncommon for me to go out for dinner with my clients months, even years after they've delivered, just to check up. I really go the extra mile in keeping those connections together. I always say to my clients, when I'm interviewing them just as much as they're interviewing me, I need you to be my family after, not my client. If I take you on, you become my family. And truthfully, that's just foundationally important to me and my brand. Is that important to yours? If that sounds good to you, it's worth the time investment. It's worth the phone calls. It's worth the in-person meetings multiple times over. But it has to resonate with you. That connection has to be paramount. It has to be foundational. If that sounds good to you, IPS probably is a good shift. Another frequently asked question is, can I do this if I don't have a studio? You see that I'm here in my studio? Yes, you can. You absolutely 100% can. I didn't have a studio for the first year and a half, just under a year and a half. I worked from coffee shops. I would sell from my clients' homes. I would have them to my home. There's no right or wrong way to do it because at the end of the day, you can quite easily take your samples anywhere. In fact, some of the biggest sales I've ever had have been from a client's home because I can walk around with them. I can show them areas of their home that would be beautiful to have an epic wall mount or a gallery wall. So it's those types of engagements that help you to understand that the only limitation is your own limiting belief. You can literally do this from anywhere. You can do it with a minimal investment. You can pick 3 sizes of custom framed wall art that you can then bring to somebody and show them what you offer. You can do 1 album sample or no album sample to start with. You can do this on a budget until you start selling and then can utilize that money to beef up what you're offering. So I want you to keep that in mind. It's self-limiting belief that's preventing you from thinking that this would work for you. I guarantee it. The other thing I wanted to talk about is products. So finding the right products for you in your business it's really important. It's really, really important. And it translates back to who your ideal client is. Through the journey of transitioning from shoot and burn to IPS, you're going to get excited about what you're going to offer. When you think about doing that transition, typically what I like to say is pick 1 album company to work with, find a really, really amazing custom printer and a local framer. Get somebody local that you can go and meet, that you can bounce ideas off of, get creative with. Really, really important. And I talk about that a lot in my course as well, how to pick the best products for you. I even have a list of my favorite products from all over North America. One of the things that I want to end with is what makes you tick as a business person. And only you know that. I think if you look at what you are having right now as the core ethos of your business, if you can look at that and say, I'm super content. I'm content grinding for clients. I'm content making way less money than I should. I'm content talking to my clients on the phone once, maybe meeting them in person for a quick consultation, and then sending them their images via a digital download. If that feels good, then shoot and burn's fine for you. But if you feel at the end of the day that you want to work smarter, not harder, that you want to up-level your business to a place where you are excited to tell people what you are doing differently, where you are walking around with pep in your step, explaining the magic that you give, and you have clients standing on their rooftop shouting your name to anybody who will listen, if you are seeing your bank account grow monthly, as opposed to grinding it out and doing sessions for a couple $100 or births for $1,500 or $2,000, if that's not landing and you are just on a hamster wheel spinning and spinning and spinning, think about what you could do to change that. It's all within your power. It's within you to let go of the limiting beliefs and to really look at how you can fix it, how you can create the dream for yourself. Because guess what? This is yours. This is your baby. I'm really excited for you to look at how you can potentially make a shift to change your business to really work for you, to get excited about the potential of watching it elevate and go next level. And that to me is just awesome. I'm really looking forward to meeting many of you in the virtual retreat. I can't wait for our 2 teaching calls as well as the socials. Please come to me if you have any questions regarding what I talked about today or my course, IPS 101 with Birth Becomes Her. Or if you have any questions about one-on-one mentoring with me, I'd be happy to answer them. Looking so forward to it, and we'll talk soon. Bye for now.